The time is now just going on to 10 minutes after 11. That means we are in our third and final hour of Community Pulse right here with you on Radio 786 100.4 FM. Since it's a Wednesday, that means this final segment is devoted to matters around social justice as we continue to find our direction to Allah through the best of women. Now, in the past few weeks, as we unpacked this, as we went through the series, we found ourselves as women with the rest of society smothered, suffocating, and stuck with chains at our feet, which is a topic we covered a few weeks ago. After that, we also discovered a ladder and a way out as we climb the net of freedom, a topic we discussed last week. We explore the networks, communications, and social interactions that generate income. More importantly, though, we consider how a wealthy merchant lady and of the best of women, Khadija alayhi salam, may have used her privilege to benefit humanity. But as we reach and as we struggle, some of us still tend to get stuck and tangled. To help us unpack this week's topic, the Tangled Webs We Weave, we welcome in studio activist, researcher, student of Quran, online consultant, and urban pharmacy mom, Lilla Helsinger, to share with us some of our insights. Assalamu alaikum again, Sister Lilla. How are you?
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Lovely to have you with us as the sun is
Alhamdulillah.
out. It's such a beautiful day. The spirit
Alhamdulillah.
feels lifted.
Alhamdulillah, definitely.
Alhamdulillah.
Yes.
Please proceed for us with the dua for the day.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Subhanallah. We know nothing except which Allah teaches us. Ya Allah, teach us that which would benefit us and increase us in our knowledge. Let our actions be done for your sake sincerely, and do not place therein any portion for other than you. Indeed, we ask you for your love and the love of those who love you, and the love for all those actions that will lead us to your love. Lighten our hearts through the Quran, beautify our characters through it, and save us from the punishment of the fire through it. Ya Allah, make this Quran a proof for us, and do not make it a proof against us. Show us truth as truth, and grant us the ability to follow it. Show us falsehood as falsehood, and grant us the ability to abstain from it. Ameen, thumma ameen. Loosen our tongues, open our chests. Grant me, in particular, a lot of mental energy because I'm feeling very tired for some odd reason. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala facilitate us and make it a really great interview that will benefit both ourselves and the listeners in this life and the next life, with full protection from the hellfire. Ameen. Thumma ameen. And what else? May it be an opportunity to draw closer to, the best of creation, including the woman, all for the sake of drawing closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to be focused on that, on the ultimate goal, and forgive any mistakes that we've made, and wherever we're wrong, may we be guided to better. Ameen.
Ameen, summa ameen. Now, Sister Lilla, again, a very, very sort of provocative topic, the tangled webs we weave, as we continue finding our direction to Allah, and we're doing this right now, at this point, through one of the best of women, Khadija.
Inshallah. So we spoke about the net of freedom last week. We were comparing the network of intention, interpersonal, intrapersonal communication, along with opportunities and skills. And we were saying the net is like that construction. It's like it can be an obstacle course, because that's very much what life is like, especially if you're an entrepreneur. Even if you're self-employed or a business owner, it can feel like you're in a weird Japanese game show with like the giant fist comes and pops you out of nowhere. A lot of people and businesses have that feeling. And so today we're going to also look at the more of the dark side of capitalism.
Yeah.
Hence the expression, what a tangled web we weave.
Yes.
In this week's segment, we're going to talk about the nafs and the ego creeping into the situation and getting entangled in our progress, much like the biblical expression of weeds and wheat. So I've got this plant, I can't remember its name, but it's like a cross between a succulent and a fern, and it actually becomes netted, and then you have to trim it in order for it to cultivate it. But then you can recultivate it, you can grow it into like new plants, new plots. So that's very reminiscent of charity, how charity and active minimalism actually helps us to grow further, and instead of us getting entangled or overwhelmed with too much hoarding or collection. So But let's talk about growth before we trim the excess of what we don't need, that which gets us tangled. Regarding growth, it's easy to see that the wealthy merchant lady, Khadija alayhi salam, was a growth-orientated person. Like, how could she not be a growth-orientated person? And it makes sense to commit to constant growth. I think I might be repeating myself, but it's worth repeating because, you know, committing to growth in all areas, because if you aim bigger, you let smaller things fall into place. So hence Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being the ultimate goal for everything. For example, I think I mentioned this already, when I used to be 25 kilos overweight. And then I joined Weight Watchers, which helped me stay out of the obese zone, but then I still battled a little bit on and off. And then for a variety of reasons, but alhamdulillah, I've kept most of it off. But the one thing I've learned from weight loss is that you can't make not being fat a goal. That can't be a goal. It's better to aim for a certain look or goal weight or fitness level, certain health or fitness level, which is why I've decided to take up martial arts or fitness training, and I push myself regarding from health, because if you keep striving, then you're moving further away from where you don't want to be. You understand? So being relatively thin or closer to the BMI is a positive symptom of just being fit and healthy. But some people want to wire their jaw shut or take other extremes. Like I had friends growing up who had eating disorders because all they could care about was just being thin or looking as, you know, it was back in the 90s where that was very much a focus. So yes, that is a type of addiction. And here's an extract from Summer Rose's Duo Journals. She writes, I admitted that there's also the second type of racism, which is racism by indifference, because we seem to think it's enough to just not hate. Failing to realize that we need to cultivate empathy and a sense of kinship, what I have found helpful is to replace racism with African consciousness, and found that anti-racism isn't a goal. Consciousness, on the other hand, can grow and be improved upon despite mistakes being made. So, back to the discussion, not being fat, not being racist, and in the case of relationships, not being rejected. People aren't interested in developing relationship or communication skills. They just don't want to be alone, or they just don't want to be dumped. And would it not be better to grow and cultivate connection instead with the right and qualified partner?
And then the outcomes would be in line with your goals.
Exactly.
You just need to change the mindset.
And people in recovery from addiction seem to do better in recovery if they are constantly growing themselves in various areas. And they'll be the first to tell you that aiming and quitting alone is not enough. There needs to be a variety of skills and growth to stay clean and sober, inshallah. So likewise with wealth, not being poor and not struggling is not a good goal. The problem is we don't choose wealth. We don't make wealth the goal. Like with the previous example, we make not being poor the goal, and it's not a good goal, because as human beings, we're constantly moving and we constantly grow. So you must aim bigger. We must aim bigger, because we'll either get richer or poorer, but we will rarely stay in the same spot. The more we grow in our skills and cultivate ourselves, the more we move away from that poverty line, you see. So likewise with our deen, we can't make not being in Jahannam a goal. You know, it's not a good goal to aim for sitting on the wall, sitting outside of Jahannam. It would be better to strive towards Jannatul Firdaus. So because when you are nowhere near the fire, and you know, and the thing is, like, shaitan makes us feel like we're not worthy, but that's something that we have to put aside and just make it our niyyah for sainthood. See, and my Hifz teacher, Fadwa Solomon, she's the principal of Common Institute, because we do Hifz at a very snail pace, but she's just like, just make that your goal, because even if you eventually die on your way to your goal, you're still going to get the reward of that. So aim big, just aim. Imagine you could do the most charitable, most amazing thing for society, and then make that your goal, because even if you don't complete it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will still reward you for your niyyah. So go big or go home. So we